So pardon this lack of composure. Exactly what my life ordered. A lover and a friend. Riding on the same page. Walking at the same pace. Wondering how my life got here, but you're here now. Yeah. Pedal down the same street. Wave at people we see. Yeah. Talking out loud of last week's ups and this week's doubts. Love was inconceivable. But since I met you head to toe, I don't wanna waste no time. So pardon this lack of composure. Exactly what my life ordered. A lover and a friend. Look, can we just...
Whoa.
The song is still going on.
Still going on. Okay, cool. Kind of played into everything going on. What's up, folks? What's up now? And look, see what I got. Kenny, do you?
Yeah. Well, have you been waiting, Kenny, this whole time?
Kenny has.
Oh, you got your live going in the background on your phone or something.
It's on YouTube, so we're,
Oh, that's why.
that's why we're like, what's going on? I'm hearing all this craziness. Sorry, Kitty.
Yes.
He's like, oh, oh
Yeah.
no, Kenny. Well,
I was so tired from everything I've been doing. I've been going nonstop. I was like, I'm gonna go down and lay and take a nap. And so we set the alarm for 1 hour. It went off at 9:20 and we both ignored it. And then he got up a little after 10 and then he wanted to make it all fancy and let me sleep a little longer. And so
well, she needed it. Come on. You know when your partner needs it, you're like, I'm not gonna wake her up. Even if I'm doing a live stream. Like she needs the rest. Like I was like, okay, we'll just wait a little bit. So first of all, thank you for joining us. This is, of course, Love Talk. This is our own little, like, little free session. Are you?
we're not lying. That's why I look sleepy. And then we were gonna drink wine tonight, but I said no, I want coffee.
Like I need coffee to wake up.
Yeah, so I got coffee.
So anyway, Love Talk is just simply us being able to come here, openly talk, share, like hear stories, things like that. So we got a few of these lined up for you this evening, and then we'll just kind of go free flow after the first couple. So let's get into it. Here we go, folks. This is what we do. We love taking and hearing a lot of people who need advice or support or guidance or anything. And that's, of course, two people in love who like to talk about it and spend a lot of the time doing what I do, watching it. Anyway, we love to go through and share just the little things that we see out while we're doing our research and um, kind of give our own thoughts and commentary on what we would do. So I'm going to start out with this one. Women, would you date a guy if you knew you would be his first girlfriend? All right. I'm 25. I've never had a girlfriend. It just never happened for me in high school or college. And I've been struggling with depression for the past couple of years. I'm finally feeling a lot better and I'm trying to improve myself physically, losing a large amount of weight, and mentally, overcoming depression, therapy, etc. I'm going to force myself to try and date in this year. However, I'm worried about being 25 with no relation experience. Would you reject a guy if he told you he's never had a girlfriend? I've also never had sex or ever been kissed. Would this would that be a deal breaker as well if you knew? Is this actually a big deal or am I just overthinking this?
Okay, so she is
Well, this is a guy.
oh, this is a guy. This is a guy.
So he's asking, would you date a guy if he's never had a girlfriend? Essentially, if you've never had any experience in a relationship, like would you dive into going out on dates or getting to know somebody and even becoming someone's girlfriend if they've never had the experience? And this is a male 25 who just never had the opportunity or just never took the chance to do this because he had so much about himself that he didn't know what to do. So he's working on himself. He's starting to gain confidence. He's starting to improve himself physically. That's a lot of it for some. The mental aspect as well of working through like things like he's saying depression and therapy and that stuff. And he's really want to trying to go find love. So, ladies, I'm gonna kind of give this one to you a little bit to think about. What would you do? Would that be a deal breaker for you if a guy you met had never kissed a girl, never had sex, and this is just his very first relationship at the age of 25?
So, if you're asking me, or are you gonna wait and see if somebody is
No, I'm
online?
asking you first.
Me.
So, if this
Okay.
is you're a woman, I mean, you've if you ran into this while you were out in the date, not that you ever would now, but
So at my age, no, there's no way. Yeah, I couldn't in my 40s. Now, thinking back into my 20s, it's possible, at that time because I'm still young enough. But I already had, by the time I was 25, I had a 4-year-old. So, that for me personally, it might have been a challenge to talk to somebody that had always or had never, been with somebody before. Like, that would definitely be a challenge, but, I was open for a lot back then, especially, if he knows and communicates and, maybe he's had female friends and he knows how to talk and communicate in a relationship and get to know you without even, because I don't think that's something that you have to necessarily bring up on day one. Like, oh, by the way, I've never had a girlfriend before. I think that he needs to not focus so much on that in the very beginning and just get to know someone and feel comfortable with them. And then, possibly bring it up a little bit later. Um, but it sounds like he's really stressed about it, and it might be something that he brings up prematurely in that
yeah,
relationship.
like he's thinking it's like going for a job interview with no experience. You're like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to if they're ever going to choose me because I don't have the experience. But if you go into it confidently with the idea that hey, I can do this, yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think what he's doing here is what we preach here. Like do the self-love thing, right? Hello James, Mr. Jim Kunkel and Mr. House of course in the house. But yes, you're doing the self-work, right? That's the whole point to get started is doing the self-love. You're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I think once you have a lot of that under wraps, it doesn't matter in the end. If somebody's going to like you, they're going to like you regardless. And they're going to like you for your personality, for who you are, for
Mhm.
what you believe. They're just accepting of you. That's the thing about love. You don't have to have experience. Like, how do you think people that meet when they're younger and they're like their teens fall in love and they stay married for years? None of them had experience. Think about it in terms of that. And even though you are older, you have to remember there are women out there who would say like this is a golden opportunity for me because I get to I have someone that doesn't have scars. Like I have someone who doesn't have all these things that are building trauma towards past relationships. So yeah, to me this could be a way to say, okay, I'm cool with this. Um I would say it's not a deal breaker. But again, know how to read the room as well. If you're reaching somebody like, I'm 25, she's 40, that might be a problem. But
Mhm.
hey, you meet somebody who's 22, I mean, how many dating experiences do you think they have? I mean, the whole idea of dating and getting to know someone is very awkward in the first place. So I don't think you're doing anything different. It's just how you go about approaching it. So I would say I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm not a woman. That's why I ask women. So, ladies, I'm
Yeah.
posing a question to you since we have one in the room.
Hi, Rachel.
Yes.
So would you date somebody that, think back to your 20s, because this is a 25-year-old. So would you date somebody that had never been with anyone before, never kissed them, never been in a relationship? Would that be a deal breaker back in your 20s? Um,
Because
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. Number one, if like I said, all these are going to be new experiences to this guy. So, ladies, you're breaking this guy in essentially. The first kiss is probably gonna he's gonna say it's amazing, it's great. Sex, if you ever get to that point, it's gonna be amazing. There's nothing that he has a measurable against. So, if I would say I think this would be a great opportunity for anyone who might, any women who might want to move past the idea of like I've dated all these losers and tons. A lot of them have a lot of experience. A lot of them they're just bad picks. It's like so you got to pick the fit that works for you. So if anybody got any advice on that one? I'm just saying that I don't think it's the deal breaker. He might be a little. I'm just saying he might be overthinking it just a
Yeah.
little bit,
I think if he focuses too much on it, then yeah, he's overthinking
thinking
it.
it, which I think that's what it sounds like here. All right, let's move on to the next question that we have. Um,
I'll read this one. Okay, so I wouldn't date myself. So, how do you guys think about this statement? The type of guys. Oh, wait, hold on. Rachel
so,
said, click
so
on what her.
yes,
So, no, I would love it. No bad habits. Good. See, I think he's overthinking
he's
it.
overthinking it exactly.
Okay, so how do you guys think about this statement? The type of guys I would like to date are physically fit, social, and have a lot of hobbies. I think this list is good if you can meet up to it. However, I'm not physically fit yet, slightly overweight, and I haven't started working out. I want to be more social and spend less time on social media and have hobbies. This is one of the reasons why I don't want to date yet. I wouldn't date the male version of me either. Like you wouldn't date an 8 if you are a 5, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if this is a confidence issue, but at the same time, it's kind of facts. I do attract certain dudes, but not that much. Maybe it's because I'm just average looking. Is this also a confidence issue or just facts? And those guys aren't really who I want to date. Am I too harsh on myself? What do you guys think? Edit. Also, it would be kind of misleading to date someone right now. What happens when I become my ideal self and can actually date the guys I see a future with? I want to date to marry. That's unfair to my partner.
Hmm. So, oh, what, Randy? Oh my God, uh, I'm a 2 and was out with an 8. Okay, so here's my thing, and these I kind of went through these, and I really started to look into 'em because there are a lot of these are about internal issues. I think in the beginning, like she's saying, I want this, I have this vision of what I want to date, but yet I'm not there yet myself. Right, I'm still not physically fit. I haven't even started working out. I want to be more social. I want to spend less time on social media and have hobbies. I think that's the thing is like you really have to go focus on those again. Start with step one, the self love thing. Like this is it. Like the previous guy that was asking, he's already lost a lot of weight. He's already like taking in the therapy. He's being proactive in his own self love, and he's getting to the point of just wondering, um, which mentally probably just goes back to things he's never thought about and thought that it might be a big deal. But then you have somebody like here who's like uh, who's not even thinking or not knowing whether or not she wants to date yet because she's not the ideal version of herself, right? And that's got to go back again to the self confidence, the self love, the self esteem. Uh, past my grip time, just simply because we wanted to keep you awake. Um, but she is attracting guys, so I think they're
But she said it's not
the kind of
that
guy
the ones that she
she wants.
really wants. So she probably finds herself settling and not happy because she's not happy with herself. So I think in this scenario, she knows what she needs to work on. She's not her ideal self yet, but she knows what she wants out of her own self. So that's where her focus needs to be is working on that, and then everything else will align. But if she's not working on herself first, loving herself, boosting her own self confidence, then it's probably not going to happen. I know with me, like I went through my battles of, oh my gosh, no one's going to love me. So I went through a period after my divorce and separation that I just thought, if I couldn't keep a marriage together and I couldn't keep, my ex husband loving me enough to want to stay with me, then something obviously is wrong with me. I have my own issues and, no one's going to love me. And so, it took a little while of self love, of really just rediscovering who I was and my identity and what I wanted. And I started to focus on losing more weight. I started to focus on, what my interests were, what my hobbies were again. I was doing things for myself and I felt like I was happier. I was in a happier place. Therefore, I knew that I could put myself back out there and then I wasn't gonna settle for something. Like, I wasn't where I wanted to be 100%, but I knew where I was headed, and I knew that I was gonna eventually lose more weight, but I wanted to be with someone at that moment that I could grow with and maybe we could both work on weight, but I wanted to be attracted to their personality primarily, and then if their looks were also something that, was there, then I was like, sure, like I really want that too. And so I was just very fortunate, lucky, and blessed to meet Gabe because I was attracted to the whole picture and I knew that that was what I wanted. And so I went after it.
So I got a few things here. I mean, the thing about it is though, even if you get to your ideal self, right, in this point and in what we're reading, um, yeah, are you? I think it's kind of like where you get to a point where you maybe uh, think to yourself, like, I how do I word this without being crude? But uh, okay, here I'll just squash what I was going to say. I don't want to say it that way. Okay, but I'm just saying, apart from just doing this, part of it is sometimes going out and taking the leap into finding an individual and going out and dating, right? Like if you're waiting for the right opportunity, right? I want her to work on herself. I want to get some of the self love, but sometimes it also sounds like you're waiting for the perfect moment, and sometimes the perfect moment's not going to happen, right? I think part of it is it's okay for her to go out and do some of these things while she's working on some of this stuff, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you never know. You could find a partner right there in the same wavelength as you, heading in
Mhm.
the same direction, and you kind of can grow together. It's like saying, I this is to me, it's like saying I want to be complete before I meet somebody. Like, what do you how do you know what's gonna complete you? What are some of these things? Like a lot of the things she could be doing with somebody and be the right partner. I mean, I don't think I was my 100% ideal self when I met Yvette, you know? But part of me was like, I need to start trying though. And I think this is the same thing. You go out and you try and you see what can happen for yourself. Um, and you see yourself, hey, Mr. Mike Asherbrainer, what's going on? Glad it's late. It's late. Glad we aren't alone. Yes, indeed. So, all right. What was Sir Rachel saying? I say find yourself first. Once you know yourself and you see yourself at a 10, you will attract the right person you
And
vision.
yeah, and you can see yourself as a 10 even though you're not, you know, they're completely 100% in, let's say, your goal weight. So if you want to lose 100 pounds, but you have lost 50, you still see yourself as a 10 because you know what? You've
Fuck
worked
right.
hard
Fuck
at
right.
that and you know you're going to get there.
Fuck
So,
right.
yeah, you don't have to be,
One
all the way there
there.
to see yourself as a
Yeah,
10 too.
that's right. And this is it. I found myself
Mhm.
through the eyes of my hubby.
Oh, I love that.
Think about that, folks. Like, this is what you're saying. If I would
Yes.
date myself, this is what I say. Sometimes you just have to start the process. A lot of the things you figure out along the way, you know, but this is it. This is exactly what it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
I find myself through the eyes of, again, you're going to be searching and searching and searching and searching and searching if you're waiting for the right time. So I would say, just go out there and give it a try. Work on yourself while you're working on doing this concurrently. Like, don't wait for one step to be done before you do the other. Like, you can practice self-care. You can actually do this. You can do these things while you're learning to lean into going into dating, and then you find these amazing people in the world. And it just kind of it also gives you the confidence to say, you know what, I'm on the right fucking track. This is the way to go. Like that's why I say sitting there holding back and waiting, you have to pick your points where to do that. I do agree, like sometimes to hold back if things aren't right, but I think a lot of that times it's like if the mental part of you's not there yet.
Yeah, and I like how Rachel said that she found herself through the eyes of her hubby. And it's almost like a little bit opposite of what this girl's saying on here. Like, I wouldn't even date myself. Like, you don't even like yourself that much to date somebody like who you are. But she saw, who she was through the eyes of her husband. And, I feel like, with Gabe, he saw me, he called me beautiful. He said these things to me and he does on a daily basis. And he's like, you don't understand like how much like I love your heart and I love your mind and I, love you and your beauty and just everything he says boosts me up so much that it's like my self-esteem is even like a million times stronger just being with him. And I hope that I give that to him too, that we feel that with each other, and that is something that strengthens a relationship.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next one, folks. All right. I want to have an amazing romantic sexual experiences. Well, I want to have amazing romantic sexual experiences, but I feel so unattractive. 17 female. I
Oh
repel
my
men and my
God.
self-esteem is low, low. So here goes. I am weeks away from turning 18. But ever since I was 15/16, I began noticing I seem to repel men literally. I've had some romantic, even sexual experiences with girls, but with guys, I only ever had one guy have a crush on me, and he was in his 20s. Nothing happened for obvious reasons, lol. Because the rest of the guys, I seem to repel them, which is weird because all my friends have boyfriends and they are out living their amazing sexual experiences, and here I am alone. And I can't even get one guy to like me. It's so weird because I would understand if I was like hideous looking. I believe everyone has their own beauty. But if we're going for what's considered attractive, I don't believe I'm that off. I just can't be that ugly. I see myself as pretty, but then the world outside doesn't reflect that. It's so weird. I just want to feel normal again, have my desires and wait,
Exciting experience.
experiences, but I feel so different. I feel like an undesired imposter. Wow.
Okay, so first of all, I don't know why this little message was on an adult site because you are too young to be like worried about having sexual experiences. You're only 17 and's been dreaming about this when she was 15, 16. Like, I understand way, 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 way in the past that would have been considered a woman. And so maybe that's the mix in your mind at this point because psychologically you feel like you're a woman at that age, especially if you've already gone through the cycle. But it's still like emotionally you're not really ready. I mean, they found brains are still developing until you're 25. And so maybe, especially at that age, guys aren't ready yet to be in a relationship like that. And maybe the ones that her friends are finding are, just, I don't know, like ready to start having sex. But, I don't know if that's the only thing she wants in the relationship. But I know like Gabe waited, I waited, we were an adult before we had sex. And so, yeah, it's yeah, agree, Rachel.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going there. I'm like,
Crazy
oh,
hormones
that's right.
needs a wait.
Yes.
Don't be like your
and
friends.
and I think
Yes.
and I think part of it is because it's the social, it's the social media,
Yeah.
it's the surroundings, it's the things like you see your friends posting stuff on social media. You and your boyfriend, them and their boyfriends are going here, they're going there. You guys talk, you hear these things, and then you comparatively put your life into the scope of how things are compared to where your social environment is. It's crazy though. Um, but here's the thing though, you're still young. I don't think what you're experiencing from a lot of these men are where you need to be at. They're still immature. A lot of them are
Mhm.
still, I mean, you guys aren't even old enough to vote. So,
Mm,
but my thing is this, it's like
or
the
drink.
drink or anything. But here's the thing, with
Mhm.
time comes experience, right? So you don't have to rush into these things. Like I was totally clueless as it came to girls, as it came to sexual experiences, to kissing and all this stuff, all through my adolescence. I didn't know what that was. It didn't keep me away from having, a less exciting life. Like it just means that I got to enjoy my youth a little bit longer. Like when you start throwing things like romance and love into your world and at such a young age, like the scope changes everywhere. How you look at life, like there are things you haven't even quite experienced it yet that you might know that you will want to do. Like you get out of high school and figure, like here's the thing: if you meet a boyfriend at 16 and you guys are in love, I mean deep in love, right? And then you get to graduating, and then lives have to separate. Like you literally can hinder your growth simply by saying, "Well, I don't want to leave him or I don't want to leave her." Like you don't go into the world and explore this the grand adventure that you're seeking because you feel like I have this person. I
Mhm.
mean, you still have yet to develop so much in your life. Like, come on. I mean, I know you want to have like all these sexual experiences. Look, it's overrated at that age. It really is. You don't even know. Guys don't know. Guys barely know where to put it in the hole. How are they going to figure out like how are they going to figure out how to actually like please a woman at such a young age?
They don't know.
They're there's guys in their 20s that don't know how to do it. So it takes time to figure out some of these things in life, and that comes with wisdom and experience over a certain amount of time, as again, lived, how you're expanding everything that you have mentally and physically and emotionally. Those things grow. Like you might not even be fully developed yet. Who knows? I mean, part of it is that sometimes you hear the late bloomer sort of stories out there. Some people mentally, like there are guys and girls that grow up mentally when they're in their adolescence who don't think they're attractive. They don't think they look good. They have all these flaws that they see and they pay attention to. And then they get out into the world and they're like, somebody comes along like, oh my God, you're hot. Dude, do you know how good you look? And you're like, huh? I look good? You have this mentality. You haven't even figured that out yet. So I would say, don't worry about how the world looks at you and judges you at this point. You need to actually just look at the things that matter to you in your life at this time and then figure out like you still have so much more to live. Man, 17 is a young age to start feeling like you don't that you repel men. That again, you're repelling. Maybe that's a good thing. Here's the thing. Maybe that's a good thing. You're repelling the wrong kind of men. You're repelling you're repelling the men that aren't supposed to be in your life. So keep at it. Don't knock it, girl. Things will get better. Just keep moving forward with life. Go get the experience. Go live in this vast world of ours. Go have the adventures, and you'll start realizing sooner or later that the things that are supposed to show up in your life will. They always do.
Yeah, so Rachel said, also true. Wish I knew that back then myself. I was so ready to grow up. Never thought it through. Absolutely. Yeah, I did wait to have sex till I was an adult, but I was trying to have relationships and date boys and do all of that and kissing. Like my first kiss I was 12. So yeah, I was ready to have a boyfriend. But it was just like a lot of it was experimental, like let's kiss. And then that was that. And then, I had my little boyfriend here and there, but it wasn't until I got with Skylar's dad before, that happened. But yeah, I wish too, if I had had more focus on education, more focus on myself and what I wanted and my dreams and aspirations, I wouldn't have been so quick to, go that route.
Yeah.
But sometimes things happen, and even so, we have blessings. You have the blessing of Lena, and then eventually Cheyenne, and then I had the blessing of Skylar. So
It
it worked out.
it does. But there's no, there's no like badge of honor to wear because you rush into these things. It's okay. Sometimes people get buyer's remorse, right? You sit there, you rush into it, you're like, I need it, I want it, you get it, and then you're like, should I have done that? Like, where had you patiently waited and then find that things kind of start opening while you're like trying to sit back and observe things and just take it in and say, okay, this is how life's going to start unfold for me. The right, again, you know, your intuition will tell you when it feels right and that things work, right? So trust those things and just, again, girl, you're 17. Don't, yeah, you still have you don't realize it, but the world is your oyster.
Yeah, I wish she was actually listening to
Yeah,
this girl.
this girl, too bad. Well, this maybe gets back to her. There we go. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right. 22-year-old female, give up on dating. I am 22. My entire life, I haven't been able to connect with a single man for some reason. I tried going out so many times in my city, and there's just no way to meet anyone. I'm a creative person and pretty sociable, and I have a full time job, but I just lose the will, the energy, and the belief that people are out there and care anymore. Whether it is dating apps or real life interactions, meeting people is simply impossible. I don't want to complain about how hard it is to be a woman because being a man sucks too, but I am tired of dating, is all I'll say. Is anyone else just about ready to give up? Can anyone relate to feeling on a glass ceiling between you and feeling connected? Other areas of my life suck, but I was hoping that at the very least I might meet a man I like before I click the off switch. Oh my God, girl, you are 22. That has me cracking up. Like, wait 20 more years before you say that.
Right.
Yeah, she definitely has jumped the gun on this one. But yeah, I feel her because today you walk around and there's not a lot of social interactions that go on. A lot of people are isolated, they're to themselves, even in public. They are, and I'm sorry to say it again, but at that cell phone. People will have their cell phone out no matter where they go. They get bored for 1 second and they pull out their phone. They're on their phone scrolling, and it's more about what they see and what they can watch, and what they can do online versus opening your eyes to see real life situations where you might meet somebody. So meeting someone in public for me was too difficult to do. And, Gabe kind of joked about it on one of our shows. But, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll meet a guy in the grocery store at least because I'm not meeting them online, not the right ones. And that never happened. But then I don't know, like what, 7 or 8 months later, after me and Gabe were together, what do you know? Somebody actually hits on me in a grocery store, and he starts trying to talk to me. And I'm like, he's like, so are you married? And I said, not yet, but I will be. And so he's like, oh, that's a shame. And so I was like, you should go on Hinge. That's where I met my boyfriend. And he was like, well, I sure do wish you were single and, I could have found you on Hinge. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm taken. But good luck to you. But yeah, it can happen, but you have to, and see with me, I keep my eyes open. I'm not on my phone scrolling all the time everywhere I go. So that gives opportunities to open the door and talk to somebody in public. But a lot of people today don't do that.
But and here's the second thing too. Girl, take the stab at it. Like sometimes we have these social cues that the
Mhm.
man is supposed to always pursue the woman, right? So your ways, it's to me, it's the whole syndrome of even like in business, you open your doors and you wait for the world to come to you. But you know what the smart ones do?
Mm.
They go out to the world. They go find their people. They go find it's the same thing that you have to take that approach in dating. Don't just sit there and say, "Here I am. I'm single. Come on." Right? You're sitting there waiting and then all of a sudden nothing happens and these people don't come into your life. But here's the thing, when you don't have that energy, right? That's the thing that I'm figuring out. Is that when you don't have that energy while you're sitting there looking, going, go, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? It's, somebody that's always looking for money, right? They don't find it when they need it. But then when they have the abundance, they're walking and then they find a $5 bill on the ground. It's like, where was that when I needed it? It's because the energy that you're giving out, you know, that part of that is that, yeah, you have to have this mentality to say, okay, let me go out there and be proactive in my own life. I don't have to wait for a guy to come ask me. Let me go ask him.
Mhm.
Like, take an awkward approach to it. Go against what's normal. Be
I did
weird.
I did that one time and it backfired though.
Hey, that's okay. How do you think a guy has to do it over and over and over and over again? We have to learn, right? You practice. So if you go out and you say, "Oh my God, you're first of all, you're very attractive. I like you. Are you single?" Right? And just start talking with him. You don't know. This is the thing. I've heard a lot of attractive people say, "Why don't I get approached?" We get intimidated. We have
Mhm.
this vision that, oh my God, this person is literally out of my league. But then you see him somewhere down the road and you go, hey, that person, and why is this beautiful person with this other person that again, you see the 10 and the 5 and you go, how are they working? How does that work? You know what? Probably because he went up to her and said, I want to talk to you. He took the approach to say, I'm going to be proactive in it. Nobody else. What's the worst thing going to do? This is my thing. What's the worst thing going to tell you? No. Okay. If you have a fear of rejection, then you're probably already in a bad spot in the first place to ask somebody out. So I would say just put yourself out there, spread your wings, be proactive in your own life, and just see what happens from going out and meeting people. Talk to people in stores, talk to people in churches, talk to people in the fucking elevator. Do fucking shit that you do that just makes you seem a little bit different and weird. Because I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna attract the energy and the vibe that you want from the person you're looking for. Like
Yeah.
you that all I mean, just sitting there and saying, again, what one of the things that really hit off in what she was saying says, "I'm a creative person." Be creative in your life. Be creative in the things that you do, how you approach things, you know, and don't give up. It's okay to take a step back, but gosh, you're 22. Again, like like Yvette was saying, when you're 42, come back and talk to me. I mean, like that might be even
It's
then.
a baby.
Even then, there's probably people in their 60s looking at the people 42 and what, what do you know? It's
Yeah.
like it's like come on. It's with time. Again,
Yeah,
that's why I
it
say
takes
it takes
time.
time to do all these things.
You
And
got to put yourself out there and be in these different situations for it to happen. Go explore, travel, like go outside of your comfort zone. Go to places like some of the things Gabe did when he was singles. He would go out to restaurants by himself.
all the
He'd
time.
go out in public by himself. Putting yourself out there with the possibility that you can meet someone helps too. And then he put himself out there on a dating app. And then I did the same. I could have just stayed at home waiting for somebody to knock on my door. But I knew that probably wasn't going to happen. So I was proactive too and putting myself out there and, seeing, what was available and trying to find somebody that would, be right for me. Cause I believe that there is somebody that's right for you. Some people will settle too quickly just because they're lonely, because they, think that they'll never find anybody. And so they rush it too fast. And I'd done that too many times in my past. I wasn't going to do it again. So, yeah, I put myself out there, but I wasn't going to just settle with the first thing that came along. Doing that and then finding the right person helps.
Mm, it does. Man, it does so much, and people just I wish they would take the time to look into it. But hey, again, that's the thing about dating. Really and honestly, it's a tough process. If it was so easy, there wouldn't be a multi-billion dollar industry, right?
There's so many, like, we've been really looking into it because we're thinking about being love coaches ourselves. And so, like, we've looked into how do you become a scientific love person where you have some certificate on it. They have like schools where you can become, a love counselor and all this stuff. And then they also have dating experts. And then they have the love matchers, love maker, whatever.
Yeah, they're matchmakers.
Matchmakers, the love matchmakers. And so there's so and they charge lots of money to find somebody. So there's definitely like a lot of different avenues out there, but it is an industry like trying to find um the right couple, and even all the dating apps, most of them cost money,
Yes, they do.
which
Trust
I
me,
did not pay for.
I spent money on them. Trust me, I know.
Nope.
Um, I spent money on them because I was like, this is the cost. Is part of the cost of trying to go find love sometimes. Like, I mean, the way that I kind of like thought about it, I said, well, if I'm gonna go spend money to go out to bar and buy drinks or whatever else, I could probably spend this money on a dating app trying to date somebody. So it just the approach, and I just thought how it changed um, the way I went and started looking. 'Cause
But he didn't find nobody on the paid ones.
no, it didn't. It ended up being free. But hey, again, it works for some people. Some people don't. I'm just saying it's an option. All right, let's go into the next one. Um, you want to read this one? Did you read the last one, or did I read it?
I did. I
Okay.
can read it again, or you can read it. It's fine.
Yeah, you can read it. You read it so much better than I did. Or it's so small too. I mean,
Okay, I'll read it.
can you read that though?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay.
Okay, so guys talking about personal issues on first dates. I, 23 female, have been going out on dates with guys who I meet on dating apps for the past 6-ish months. With some of these guys, they just want to unload a lot of their past problems to me. I don't know that I'm just easy to talk to, a decent listener, and I just come off as non-judgmental. So I feel like maybe that's why some guys like to unload their entire life story on the first date. I went out on a date with a guy last week, and he spoke quite a bit about how he had severe depression and ended up flunking out of college, but eventually went back and finished his degree. And about how he fights with his siblings and isn't close to his parents. I went on a date with another guy who told me a bit about his past with anxiety and depression. I had another guy tell me about how he always got suspended from school, lied to his parents about a bunch of stuff growing up, how he cheated in school, etc. Is this normal for guys to talk about somewhat personal stuff on a first date? I don't bring up these topics. They just kind of happen. I don't ever talk about personal things on a first date because I just want to I just don't want to talk about deep private info with a stranger. Why do some guys just unload their whole life story on past issues on the very first date? Yeah, I want to hear your perspective, baby, on this.
Okay.
Why do guys
A
do
lot
that?
of I'll tell okay. So for a lot of the
They need a
guys,
counselor.
yeah, exactly. For
They haven't had therapy yet.
for a lot of them, here's the thing. They've probably been in other past relationships, and for them, it's probably the first time that there's actually a woman sitting across from them who they can talk to without getting any kind of judgment. So they just pour it all out into this
Bleh.
conversation on a first date because they probably had past experiences with past women, and they might have dated somebody for 6 months, and they were like, I don't want to open up and say, but they get this all of a sudden this clean slate, and all of a sudden it's just pour out everything. It's like, let me tell her about how just things you don't need to talk about on a first date. Like, it's crazy, but they do. It's funny, like, they could talk to a guy for the first time, and it's very, like, very surface, which is what you should do on a first date. You're getting to know somebody. Take the time. Open up about a few small things that you might say, "Okay, might be a funny," or whatever. You might have a funny anecdote or something. Don't go into how you've suffered for depression and anxiety for the last 4 years, and how you've been on Xanax and all these, like, that's right there's the red flags. Lady, you should have got up from that table at that moment and said, "Okay, I'm gone." Because these guys here, they're simply mentally unprepared to learn how to have conversations with a woman. This is why I'm starting what I'm going to do is teaching men how to have conversations with women, because they have no clue. You got guys like this that just open up and talk about fights they had in school. Yeah, check please. Exactly. That's what you do. Like, I will Venmo you the money as I head out the door. Have a good night. Because literally, there's a lot of these guys who just, for whatever reason, and it's easy. It's easy sometimes when somebody's a good listener, and they don't judge, and they don't like fight you on all these things.
Yeah, she probably didn't like make like
Yeah. Their body
she
language.
wasn't like making these facial expressions, so they kept going on
On
and
and on.
on
Yeah.
and on. And she was like, okay, well, what else? Maybe the body language she was showing like lets these guys continue the conversation. So maybe she needs to work on some of her facial expressions, like
Yeah, let them know.
let them know, like, this is what are you doing? Why are you saying this to me on a first date? Like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then don't go back. You'll start teaching the guys, like, this is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
But I understand where she's coming from, because like, or I understand kind of the guy perspective, especially when you have a mental illness, because the thing is, like, you want somebody, and this is your mentality, is you want someone to love you for who you are with that disorder. And you want to make sure that the person knows that you have that disorder. But the thing is, you can't let that disorder define who you are as a person. And that's what some of these guys haven't dealt with yet, is that, yeah, you might have some kind of psychological disorder, but that's not who you are as a person. Let them see who you truly are on the inside.
Yeah. Ugh, I mean, here's the thing. Again, you have to find a time when you've built trust or something to divulge this kind of information. You just don't open up about. No one would sit down at a first date and say, "Hey, I have herpes." You're already making the assumption that we're going to have sex, right? You're
Yeah.
making the assumptions very early on. You're making assumptions that you're going to be in a long-term relationship with this person, and they need to know this stuff.
Mhm.
You will find a time and a place to open up about it. The first date is not the place to do it. That is for you to find out, get just a few marginal things about somebody, because you're making a first impression. I do not want to sit down with somebody at a table and hear about their diatribes and just quarrels with them having anxiety and depression, and how it cripples them, and then all these other things. Just at that point, I'm just sitting there going, okay, this is not going to work. Like, I need to get the hell out of here for whatever reason. I need to leave right now.
Yeah, and it goes for even in the initial conversations that you have when you're on the phone with them before you meet them for that first date. Maybe you've worked your way up to saying it before the first date. And like, that's what happened with me and Gabe. I told him that I had bipolar disorder before the first date. So he was aware, but it's how I told him is the difference. But before that, like in the very beginning, I was kind of experimenting with it. And I was like, okay, so and I started thinking, because that was a question. I'm a part of support groups online, and that's a question. When, people have asked it, I've asked it. I'm like, when do you divulge that information? because you want the person to understand and know that you've got something going on. But when do you tell them? At what point do you say, I have this thing? And so, some people are like, oh, you have to wait. Just wait. Maybe after you become exclusive, then you share it. And some people are like, oh, you can wait 6 months. Some people are like, I was even told one person waited a year before they told their sign. They had been dating and together and exclusive for a solid year before they finally said, you know what? I have bipolar disorder. And so for me, it was like, well, I don't want to be a liar. I feel like I'm not being truthful about who I am. So I was like, I'm just going to tell him from the beginning. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to slip it in when I think it's the right moment. Whatever that right moment is, I'll slip it in. And so sometimes it would be on a first call, that I was like, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to bring it up. And so I would do that. Sometimes I would get ghosted, because people don't want to just hear that in the beginning. So I kind of played around with it with different guys I talked to and then would listen to their responses. And some of them were like, oh, okay. And, I've heard about that before. Or, oh, I've dated somebody with that before. And so they had all these like responses to it. And so I just wanted to see like how people would respond and when it was the appropriate time to say it. But I waited, it was probably a little over a week. And I never thought that it was important to bring it up with Gabe until one day, and I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. But I said, okay, well, I think I'm ready to share this with you, and so I told him like, yeah, I developed it. I said, I'm very stable now. I take medication for it. And just kind of told him that I do have it. So just, I want you to be aware of that. And his response was incredible. He was like, wow, I'm blown away by everything that you've accomplished despite having that, because some people don't. Some people use it as a disability. They even apply for disability, they quit their jobs, they can't function. And he's like, you're working on your master's degree? He's like, oh my gosh, and so he was so impressed. And then the next day he tells me like, I bought this audio book on loving someone with bipolar.
What?
And I was like, oh my God. I started crying because I thought nobody, here I was after I developed bipolar, like I was crying thinking no one's going to love me. No one's going to love me with this disorder. My only chance at love was with someone who loved me before the bipolar. So, but he couldn't even love me after the bipolar. So, how am I going to find someone that's going to love me with bipolar? And here he is buying a book about it. And I was like,
What?
okay, I wanna keep getting to know this guy because he might be the one for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a time and a place to
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
about having a disorder, and some
It's
of
not the
these
first date
guys
though.
don't
Not the
realize.
first date.
Yeah. No.
Not the first date. You know, that is again, that's a place where you're learning whether or not you've had the conversations, right? You've talked, hopefully you've talked before you do this. And sometimes some of them are blind. You're just meeting and you do it within a few days, so you don't have the time to really get to know this person. But the thing is, you're just this is the first time you're getting to see each other in person, and you're getting to see whether or not you connect physically. And then even for some, it's the emotional part of figuring that out as well. So yeah, I don't think the first date is where you need to this divulge this kind of information. Let it kind of naturally find its place to when you feel comfortable, you think
Mhm.
they're both feel comfortable between the two of you when to start discussing it, and then things will go from there. They'll either say this is okay, I'm great with that, or they're gonna
Mhm.
be like, I'm gonna turn around and run. It's time to. You can do it on the first date. You can do it 10 dates from now. What's the what? My thing is you can't just say let me put all this stuff out here into the world and then say, okay, this is it. It's gonna work for me. Like, girl, it just doesn't. The world doesn't just work this way. It's like saying you're gonna get in an elevator with somebody and you're gonna tell them everything about you on a like 3-minute ride down the elevator. Tell them your whole childhood story, like you wouldn't do these things. You wouldn't talk about these things. It takes time.
Some people do. I actually
Oh,
I used to do it on airplanes. And so I was like, I'd sit next to somebody when I would travel by myself, and I'd sit next to random people, and I would have strike up a conversation, and I'd be telling them my life story, and I'd be asking them about theirs. And it took longer than 3 minutes, of course. But I was like, I would just say everything, and they would say everything, and it was the coolest thing because I never saw them again. Never even got their phone numbers or their name at the
Yeah,
moment, but it was fun.
here's the difference, though.
Mhm.
You two are just having conversation. There's not
Yeah.
romantic
Yeah.
implications behind anything.
One guy I really thought was hot.
Uh,
I was like, I'll talk to you all day. But yeah, that one didn't work out.
It would have been like, I'm getting off this plane as soon as we divorce. I am out. Okay. So friends with benefits got jealous when he thought I was going on a date. Is he developing feelings for me? I told him I couldn't meet up the day he asked me to, or I told him I couldn't meet the day he wanted to meet up. He asked what I was doing, and I said going to dinner. He then got a little weird, all telling me to have a good time with the other guy. It took me by surprise. The way he reacted. I was going with the friend, by the way. Is he starting to have some more feelings? So
So
this
this was a friend
friends
that
with
she's with?
this is a FWB, what they call friends with
Oh
benefits, right?
God.
I know.
It's the situation.
Patient, yep, yes. So the whole ordeal of just saying, I'm going out to dinner with someone. When you're friends with benefits, it's like, okay, this is where I say that is always a slippery slope when you involve any kind of emotion in any kind
Mhm.
of relationship, whether it's friends with benefits, whether it's you trying to find a long-term relationship with somebody. Like emotions, we start drawing
Yeah.
attachment to each other. And even when you're friends, you start drawing attachment to each other. There's still an emotional connection between the two of you. And yeah, you've done something else where you've crossed another threshold where you're having sex with each other.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, especially when you feel a certain way about somebody right after having sex with them. Like, if you're really just that closed off, you just do it with a stranger. You never meet them again. Like, you move on from that. There's no emotional tie to it. But when you have
Mhm.
that friend though, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh well, it's strictly social what we're doing here. And then the other person's like, well, I'll see you later. I'm going on a date. I can't meet tonight.
Yeah, I
And
mean, he wants to kind of be in that relationship at the same time. What's that? Yeah, I want my cake and eat it too, whatever weird saying. But yeah, he is now probably leaning towards maybe I want this as a relationship because his feelings are getting involved. So Rachel said this is so my dad. So what was it that we said that was your
so,
dad?
talking about just meeting strangers and then sharing your whole life story with them.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yes. Uh, so yeah. Um, I cheated. Oh, I'm reading a few more. Oh, here's one.
Okay.
Um,
You want me to read it?
no, that's not good. So I'm just looking through a few more because there's,
We're trying to find another scenario that we could talk about.
yeah. You want to just talk?
Do you have any Rachel possible scenarios or stories that you've heard? Since I think you might be our only viewer
All right,
right
here, you want
now.
to read that one?
Okay.
You can try to read that one.
Okay, I'll read this one.
We'll just see how this goes.
Okay, so I matched with it says, how do you handle an unexplained disappearing match? Ghosting. Ugh, it's a ghosting.
Oh,
Okay, so I matched with a guy on a dating app and we seemed to hit it off pretty good. We took our conversation off the dating app to a messaging app. So we never traded numbers at this point. He seemed pretty interested. The more we talked, good mornings, checking in through the day, talking after work, etc. First week goes swell. We start the last day like normal, talk during the day like normal. We were talking before bed, and he had sent me a message with some questions about what we were talking about. I replied, and then he didn't. Not uncommon, figured he fell asleep. That was the last time I heard from him. That response and the subsequent messages I sent the next day are all on delivered. Here's my issue. While I'm unfortunately not unfamiliar with being ghosted by a guy, this seems like a weird one for me for him to go hot to cold out of nowhere and not block me or anything if he was really no longer interested. Why ask questions about an interest I had and feed the conversation if you were going to dip? I was concerned something happened to him, some kind of emergency, or he got blocked on the app we were talking on, but figured if that were the case, I'd have heard something by now. It's been silent over a week. It takes 5 seconds to hit send a quick note, even if you're still tied up in a situation. Has anyone ever experienced something similar? How'd you handle it, especially if they resurfaced? So, what if he's dead? That's my like, I'm thinking he
Well,
died because
two
if
things.
it's still undelivered and he's still not talking, I mean, you never know. Like, that could have been
That could have been one of them.
that's one.
My mind way that the way my mind thinks that he was probably talking to multiple women at the same time, and just
That too. That too.
one of them just hit it off with him, and he's like, "I'm done. Like I'm gonna invest in this woman or this other individual, and I don't need to carry this on anymore." Like they say like there's some people that just so easily can drop an emotion and walk away from something. Like you're waiting on the other end. He's like, "Well, I'm good though. I mean, she'll probably find somebody else and move on, but I found somebody right now. We're dating. She's so cool. I just want to spend time with her, talk with her, and everything else." And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so they can just walk away from these kinds of situations as well. They just, you know,
And it was only a week. So, he was probably doing the same thing to somebody else. And then he probably might have sent the same questions to somebody else. And then when he sent them, the other person might have responded first. And he really liked what they had to say. And they continued the conversation. And all of a sudden they're planning a date. And he's like, what? Let me just see how this one goes. And so far it's going good. And so he just decided to, instead of being a man and saying, I'm sorry, or, following through with those questions and then saying, hey, sorry, I kind of was talking to more than one person. So that's kind of like what Gabe did when he was talking to me. He was also talking to a couple of other women. And when he discovered that I was the person for him, he kindly let them down and told them um, that he had met somebody.
that
And
doesn't
so,
always happen.
yeah. So he told them, and then they were cool about it. They understood and they wished him well. So, guys should not ghost, but
But
unfortunately,
that
it happens because and I've been ghosted so many times, like so many. There was one guy, like he was we talked so well in person. We went on 2 dates. We talked and talked. Even, he had older like teenage kids that were at home when we went out on one of the dates. And so he was telling me that they were like sending him a message, when are you coming home and stuff like that. And so he's like, I'm not going to tell them when, because then they're going to be whatever mischief they're trying to do it so they know when to expect me coming home.
yeah.
Yeah. So we were just joking about that. And so we stayed talking, and then, we talked about all kinds of stuff, and I go home. And he texts me and he's like, you know what? You are such an amazing woman. He paid me all these compliments. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really hitting it off with this guy. I was physically attracted to him. We could communicate easily. Like everything seemed so great. And then he ghosted me. And I
Yeah,
was
it's like
like,
all of a sudden, like,
really? And
yeah,
and I knew he was still alive because a week later I sent him a message and he gave me like a couple word sentence, and I was like, okay, so he's still alive. He's just not
he's just
interested.
not interested, right?
Yeah.
So they
So I
just
just dropped it after that.
yeah. So that's a lot of them. That's what they do. That's the MO. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I got 3 or 4 women I'm talking to, And as they start paring down and one of them really works out, well, guess what? The other three get left out in the cold. It sucks to be that way. And if the mature way to handle is to just like,
Do you see what Rachel said? So you're
yeah,
calling her immature?
yeah. Anyway, I hate to
She
admit, but
said hate to
I'm the
admit
ghost.
she's the ghost.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I have ghosted a couple people. I did
Look,
too.
I have to because there's some of them that are just like so over the top. Though you like, I don't know if there's a logical way to break this off. Like, the very first one that I ever talked to, like she was like wanting me to come meet her. She wanted when I was gonna like move out that way. Like all these
Wanted to
questions,
meet his
damn
kids.
kids, like
Like
within days, and I'm like. I can't, I wasn't mentally, first of all, prepared for any woman to be able to want to do that. Um, so like I like tried to gently hint at walking away from this, and she kept sending me messages. Even now, I've seen her a few times on other apps, and she send me messages, and I'm like,
recently?
no, this is probably like well, maybe like about 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I saw a message pop up on my like TikTok because I'm all over social media.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, I think you told me about that
yeah,
one.
one.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
She's like there. I'm like, it's like, hey, stranger. I'm like,
Oh yeah. And then he showed me that one. He's like, I am not replying to that.
no way. I was like, done. Like I literally just had to like disconnect from everything in every possible way.
She's still
Uh,
trying to track him down.
Still trying to hunt the
Yeah.
man down. So, all right.
Yeah, so Rachel said, "See, that's right, Gabe. That dude was too much and would not take no for an answer, so I ghosted them."
Now, see
Yeah.
that's different, but like in the mature way, like what sounds to me like when in that scenario, they had a really good conversation. They talked, they knew each other. It didn't seem like she was overbearing. He didn't see there was just him just ghosting because he found somebody else. Either he died or and
Yeah.
we don't know. Hopefully he didn't, but he just did the cold blooded thing to just slice it off right there at the moment and just that's it.
Yeah. There was one guy I was talking to, and I don't remember why I felt like ghosting him, but we were just like, it just wasn't really going anywhere, and I wasn't really like, I don't know. It was one of my first experiences talking to somebody that I met on an app. And, we were kind of going back and forth, but I slowly, like, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. So I just didn't respond to one of his messages. And so I didn't. And then a few hours later, he sent something else. And I was like, I'm just busy right now. Like, I just didn't want to reply. And so then all of a sudden, he texts me. He's like, "Are you ghosting me?" And it was like all, I think, within the first day. And I was like, maybe I am. And so I just didn't reply. I was like, okay, I guess I ghosted him. So he called it out. And I was like, I was eventually probably going to send him something, but I just wasn't feeling it and didn't want to text right away. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't want to text in that moment, don't text. But, he was, yeah,
All
it
right,
just
I
wasn't
got
going
one
anywhere.
more if you want to read it,
Okay.
and we'll kind of wrap up after this.
Okay. Let's see.
This is an I am the asshole, so just so
Okay, so am I the asshole? I refuse to move my wedding date. Ooh.
this is gonna be tricky.
Sorry, guys. This is a bit of a long one. 34-year-old female, got engaged to my fiance, 37 male, September 2022. My sister, 27 female, was getting married in the summer of 2023. When I got engaged, I had my wedding date already picked for early summer 2024, and I immediately told my family the date. My sister is a photographer, so I warned her with plenty of notice to not book for that date. I tried talking to her about my wedding planning, but she asked me not to talk to her about it because she just wanted to focus on hers only. Fine, no big deal, but doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to plan mine. This past October 2023, she asked me to remind her of the date. When I told her, she said that she booked a wedding back in January for that date and asked me to move it. I have said no because this date was properly planned out and picked for me and my fiance. I'm now being told it's my fault, and clearly she's not that important to me because I'm refusing to move my wedding date. I see it the other way around. Why wouldn't she cancel her client in order to prioritize me? I'm the oldest child of four. I never asked for anything. This is the first thing I'm holding fast on. I'm heartbroken that she won't be there, but also extremely hurt that she is putting all the blame on me rather than accepting she also has control over her decisions. Am I wrong? Am I the asshole?
Oh,
First of all, it's hard to hire a family member because
right.
I've been pretty fortunate with, doing pictures because I'm a
That's why I picked
photographer.
this one because it kind of
Yeah.
you have this experience a little bit in this.
Yeah, so I'm a photographer and I've shot for family before. And it's hit or miss with family. Sometimes family will be like, I'm going to pay you extra. I'm going to pay you, this and they'll give me money. And then I have family members that are like, so I'm family, right? So I get the family discount. And so, and I've accommodated that. I have done free pictures for a lot of people in my family. And so, but at the same time, and so I'm not sure if this sister's wanting the photography done for free or if she's going to pay. So if she's paying for it, then, and she told, her sister in advance, then, sh I think the sister's in the wrong for booking a wedding on that date. But if she's getting this like for free and then her sister is, getting paid money to do another job, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like torn in both ways on that situation. I don't think necessarily she's the asshole for it because she set the date in advance for her wedding. But sometimes, as a photographer, you're wanting to get paid too. And if she's not paying for the wedding, like,
Mhm.
and maybe she said early, whatever, but she didn't have the date set in stone yet. And then the sister already booked. I mean, that's possible too.
Yeah, but the hard I think where the hard fact for her is that even if she wasn't gonna be the photographer, like, you're missing out on the wedding.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, true.
that's the other angle. It's
That too.
like,
Yeah.
wouldn't that hurt you if your sibling said, "Well, I
I
can't
can't.
do it because,
I have a
I have
job.
a job," right? And
Yeah.
it's something that she talked about, she planned out months in advance. So she
Mhm.
kinda knew this, right? Now
Yeah.
now it gets a little complicated because you involve the photography thing and doing the work and, you know,
Yeah.
assuming that this was a free thing, she might still say, "Well, I won't do the photography, but I'll be there."
Yeah.
But, taking another job that
Mhm.
coincides with this one, I
Mhm.
mean, it is a sticky slope, but you do have to sometimes prioritize what's important to you. And right now it sounds like, well, her
Her
job's
job
more
is
important
more
than her
important
family.
than
So
family.
that's how she prioritized things. And,
Mhm.
you know, you, it just tells you like where you stand in the hierarchy. So
Mhm.
if her job's more important and maybe she needs the money, maybe you guys need to compromise there. You could have compromised and said, well, you can do mine and I can pay you X amount. Like
Mhm.
if you're needing money that like that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it just depends. And it sounds like there wasn't clear communication between the two of them,
Mhm.
and now it's come to an impasse, and now things are going to happen where she's not going to have her sister at the wedding, and then she's going to have to eventually pay. My thing is she's going to pay somebody else to do it, probably. I mean, unless they're not going to have a photographer there, but I think they
Yeah, she'll probably pay somebody else, but
else.
yeah, so it's not clear on there, like, is she hiring her sister to do the photography, or is she just wanting her sister to be there? Because that could be what it is too, because she could be like, I don't really care about going to your wedding to do, you asked me to do your pictures. Cause I've had that before too, where, you know, family wanted me there, but it was to do the pictures, but they did pay. But it was like, what if I wanted to be in your wedding? Like, What if I wanted to be one of the bridesmaids? I wasn't asked, as a photographer, you're not even asked a lot of times, will you be the bridesmaid? You're asked, will you be my photographer? And so I've never been in anyone's wedding. None of them. I've only shot them. I've shot a cousin's wedding. I've shot a sister's wedding. I've shot family members' weddings. And I've never, not even with
Wow, that's
friends,
interesting.
ever been asked to be in a
That's
wedding.
interesting though, because then you're like, do they have the perspective of like, if I include her though, then I have to come out of pocket for
Yeah.
something else, and they see this as a cheap alternative
Hmm.
to like saying, well, we can get that covered. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I have fun taking the pictures, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but it would have been nice out of anyone, even I've had friends, like close friends that have gotten married, and what did they want? Photography. Like it's never been and some of them, it was nice because I did get paid and stuff. But I've never, because that's, what I do, it's never been, can you be in the wedding? And so I don't get to join all the festivities and everything else that the party does. I'm observing it and taking pictures. But so a lot of times I just be out on the dance floor dancing while
Yeah,
I'm taking
I wonder if
pictures.
that's the case,
So,
like if you're a family like DJ as well. Like if you do DJing and
oh yeah, I'm
like
sure it
I got a
is.
cousin who's a DJ, and I don't know if you invite them as just the guest, or hey, I want you to
I
DJ the
think
wedding.
you should have options. I think if you have a family member that does that, don't all of a sudden say, "Hey, can you DJ for me?" or "Hey, can you do my photography?" I think you should say, "Hey, do you want to be a part of the event?" Like, because I would really like it if you're just there and you don't have to work. I said, or would you like to do your job at the event?
Yeah,
But
do
give
both.
give them the opportunity to decide on that, instead of just all of a sudden just assuming because you do that job, well, you're going to do it for me. So, yeah, I used to say, like, always a photographer, like, always the bride's photographer, never the in the bridal party, or always the bride's photographer, never the bride. Because I've never had an official wedding either. Even though I was married, I got married in a quinceañera dress shop. So I didn't even have like, I shot all these beautiful weddings. I have shot some of the most beautiful weddings. But I've never had my own wedding. And so that's what, I told Gabe, like, something, I know it's going to cost some money, but I really want, I've shot so many weddings. Like, I want my own wedding. I want
We're gonna
it.
start a GoFundMe to do it live.
Yeah, we will. We will do it live too.
It's gonna, and Rachel's saying it's gonna be hard to get a photographer
Yes.
for a
So
wedding.
I'll have to hire one. Well, I already have one in mind for a photographer. I actually went out on 3 dates
It's for
with him.
them.
And he does really beautiful pictures. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to use him.
And there you go. See, folks, that's how it works. Oh, Russell's looking for a pillow. Give him a pillow.
Okay.
Okay, prop the legs. There you go. So yeah, I mean, it can be a slippery slope, but um, I don't think she's the asshole so much, because she did plan it out and gave
Hmm.
ample amount of time, and it's just the way sometimes people work and how they prioritize the things in their lives, and you can't fight that.
Yeah, but I think there might be more issues than just that
Yeah.
because, speaking from a photographer's perspective, like she could have been expecting, and that's the thing, like sometimes you get a little irritated when someone just expects you to be their photographer without even like, telling you how much they want to pay you. Like guys, I shot a wedding last year, wanted me to drive all the way to Oklahoma to take this wedding. I did this beautiful wedding and I started to edit the photos and I asked for the money for it because they still hadn't paid me. And I even gave them a discount because with travel and everything, I charged $900 to do this wedding. And have I seen that money? No. no money in my pocket for that wedding. So I stopped editing the photos, and I was even doing that, throwing all of the editing, photoshopping in there for free. And so I waited for the money and it never came. And now they're getting a divorce. So I will never see that money. So, and that was for a family friend, somebody that I've known for years. And so people will take advantage of you sometimes when you're a photographer. So it's if that's the case with her, she may have just grown, bitter about it and be like, yeah, you're wanting me to be your photographer, but I doubt I'm going to even see money for it. Like, I got a life to live. I love you. You're my sister, but I'm booking this wedding. So there could be more underlying issues than what the poster actually revealed in their message.
Oh, good. Well, that's what this is all about.
Oh,
We had some fun
Rachel.
and laughs tonight. Been kind of lonely these days. It's okay. We'll
Yes.
be with you.
I will talk to you anytime you need to on the phone. I laugh with you so much, Rachel. And then I'm so appreciative that you are staying up watching our show. I know it's late tonight, but I do appreciate you watching it. And um, yeah, we need to find some more funny ones because I love laughing too at some of these funny ones. Yes.
Well, I'm trying to find one that was a little bit.
Did you see a funny one?
Um,
Yeah, I need a funny.
okay, hold on.
You see?
Okay, we'll try this one.
Like that fairy one. Oh my god, that one was hilarious.
Oh wow, this is like a whole. It's like a whole story. It involved a therapy dog.
A therapy dog.
Yes.
Oh god, that reminds me
Read the
of that.
title. I don't want to go into it because it's like a. It's probably like
Am I the asshole for refusing to give a girl a ride because she had a therapy dog?
It's probably like an Uber driver. Something like Jaren. Oh,
It's kind of long.
I'm not saying. Let me find another one.
Yeah.
That was like way too long.
Somebody posted, "Don't downvote the assholes." Yeah, but Rachel, if you want to be a part of my bridal party, I want you to be. That would be freaking hilarious. If you want to be a bridesmaid, oh my gosh, that would be so fun. I'd be cracking up. We can invite our ex. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, fighting over sweatpants. I don't know.
Fighting over sweatpants.
Yes. Oh, home late. No, not that one.
We have all kinds of people in our background.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, folks. Okay, here, try this.
Animals and humans.
All right, here, try this one.
You'll meet me at my. No, I want you to be in the bridal party. Like, you'll be one of the bridesmaids.
Tell me if you want to read that one. Read this title.
Okay.
Can you see it?
That would be so fun. Okay, so am I the asshole for teasing my 18 male friends, 19 male, and 18 male for going to the sauna?
You gonna try that one?
Okay. For going to the sauna naked with their mom. We all live in America and I'm fully American, but their mom is originally from Germany. So she has brought some of her culture, which includes how she raised her kids. They're cool guys and we hang out at each other's all the time. They have a pretty cool house with their own sauna. The situation was that we were playing on their Xbox in the living room until their mom came in and asked them if they wanted to join her in the sauna. They were pretty embarrassed and started saying, "No, mom, not now. We're playing." So
They already knew what was coming.
I had a hard time I had a hard time holding in my laugh, and I burst out into laughter when their mom went away. I started teasing them over it, saying, "That's pretty weird." And they sit in the sauna naked with their mom as an adult male, and that is time to grow up. It was meant as a joke, but they didn't take it well and got pretty mad and said that it's normal in their culture and that I'll have to leave if I don't stop laughing. I stopped, and the rest of the evening was pretty awkward. Now it's the next day, and one of them sent me a text saying that I was beyond disrespectful for what I did.
Oh my God, am I the asshole, right? Look, I understand cultural differences, but then there's also that where like you don't expect to go over to your friend's house and hang out with your naked mom. Like, come on. No. Like who would
Yeah, and like they said, this is America. We don't really do that here. And then why would the mom knowing this, why does the mom coming in like inviting adult sons, "You want to get in the sauna with me, boys?" Like with somebody over there like, "Oh, that's no."
Yeah,
Where are
no.
my keys? My dad's calling me home. Yeah. Like
Right?
so I would say, you know what, if your friends can't if your friends can't accept you for laughing at that situation, then maybe you need more friends that don't hang out with their mom naked in a sauna. Like, uh-uh. That is too
No,
funny.
like you can't like there's a line where you're like, okay, I have to like withdraw myself from this situation. And part of it is like, yeah, nakedness.
I
And
don't even like getting in the sauna with strangers when they get naked. So, like at the gym I used to go to, I'd be going in there and I always wear my clothes, like my workout clothes. I just like sitting in the wet saunas. And then I go home and take a shower, or sometimes I would take a shower at the gym. But I would sit in there and man, these women do not even care. I guess they're from another culture. They'd be walking up in there butt ass naked, taking off their towel, readjusting it, like people walking around the deal naked. I was like, cover yourself. Like nobody wants to see you, especially when you're like in your 70s. Like gross. Don't do that. But yeah, some women feel real comfortable. And then I've also heard stories from the guy sauna with the guys, taking their clothes off, getting up in there with other strangers. Like, no.
no, like come on. Like nudity, like especially when you're conscious of it, like it's uncomfortable. I don't care and if it's in your culture and it's something that you did, that's different, but you got to also understand that you're in a different country with a different culture, and some culture things you don't like partake in. You just don't, you know. How would you feel? You walked into your friend's house and there's your mom, boobs hanging out, crotch open, sitting there just watching Netflix. Like, what do you think? Like, that's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. You're gonna go in there like, man, look, bro, I like you're cool, like you're a cool dude, but like I can't walk. Like you wouldn't do that. Like I don't know. It just weird. I'd have to just and plus again, you're around guys, right?
Mm-mm.
So you're around other dudes. Like I don't know if she probably doesn't have a husband and do. I hope she doesn't have a husband and she's doing this. Like we're hanging out and they're all naked. Like hey, I want to go hang out. Like that's okay, you know.
Yeah, and Rachel said here, I thought kissing moms on the lips is odd. I've seen it, a mom and a son. So yeah, I think that's part cultural too with the kissing on the lips. I've seen it even all the way through adulthood where they do that. It's kind of common in Hispanic culture too. I know my grandpa like would always try to kiss, and he would try to aim on the lips too, and I just as a kid, I thought, "Ooh, I'm not doing that." So I'd always turn my face real fast, because I didn't want to kiss someone on the lips, and so, but in some cultures, yeah, it's common to do that. I know in the it's the country Norway. Is it Norway? No,
Yeah.
not Norway. New Zealand. New Zealand, one of their cultural things is to rub noses. So they like the Eskimo kisses, and they always do that. Like that's their custom. Um, they do it all the way through adulthood. Is in New Zealand. So, whatever kissing on the lips that can be a cultural thing too, and it is odd in America because we're not used to doing that.
Mm. I know that's got to be for some people that's just weird. They because again you're involving like physical touch with somebody, and sometimes people like that's not my bound. I mean, I have a boundary and I don't feel comfortable doing that. It's like fist bump, handshake.
Yeah, but then getting naked with a mom, that's even worse. So,
Oh
like
my god. No.
yeah, I couldn't imagine my mom telling my brothers, like or brother saying, "Oh, let's get in the sauna together." Like, that's just not happening. Or even my dad saying it to me, like, that is not, that's not happening."
Oh gosh, here's one about wiping somebody else's son's ass. I don't know if you want.
Oh, you want me to read that one, or you want to read it?
I don't know. See, do you think it would? No, I don't know. That's super long. I'm trying to find one
Okay,
that's
a shorter, fun one.
shorter, fun one. Um, I should have looked for those. I was too busy reading the dating ones. Let's see. No, not that. All right, you do
What?
no, I'm trying to find one. I'll take the.
Okay,
You can look for one if you want, but
okay.
I'll kind of banter a little bit. But the whole idea behind just sitting there in a room with somebody in heat, you're all sweating, right? You're in a sauna. You're all sitting there sweating next to each other, and everybody's naked. I mean, who knows? Have they had a bath? They could be stinking, cooking that smell. Who knows? I wouldn't want to chance it. So yeah, it's uncomfortable in some ways of like sitting there and pretending it's okay for somebody to be in an awkward situation like that. But like at 18, I mean, even dudes, it's dudes. What if I mean, I'm gonna sound crude saying this, but what if the mom's hot? Like the dude's sitting there and they go to the sauna and he gets a boner, right? You sit there, it's a potential thing that could happen. It could, it could, maybe her sons are used to her, so they're not, they don't see her sexually. They just see her as mom naked. Where their friend sees their mom and they go, whoa, right? That's just how the mind works. The primal instinct kicks in, and all of a sudden, how awkward does it really become? When you're all sitting there naked in a hot sauna with the heart on. Like I don't know if I would want to be in that situation at all. You're all again all hot and sweaty. I don't know. It just doesn't sound fun to be in, and I don't know. That's their culture, and maybe that's why I don't go to Germany very often because I don't want to sit naked in the saunas with people. Um, but it does. It kind of reminds me that they are kind of used to that. God, I remember what is the '80s movie? It was a Cheech and Chong movie, and they're sitting there in the sauna um, together, and they're talking about like story content ideas between the two of them, and the one doesn't have like his the one that's talking about it doesn't have his glasses on, so he really can't see. And the other one's looking, and there's all these naked dudes around him, and they're just he's just looking at him like, I can't. What the hell's going on here? Everybody walks in, they start taking their towels off, and they're just sitting in on there naked. So I don't know. Maybe that again, that's a Germany thing that's how their culture is, I guess.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw some people in Mexico doing it too in certain areas. They're just taking their tops off, walking around the beach. I was like, "Oh, okay." All right, what did Rachel say?
She said, I was talking about did you hear what I was saying about the 18-year-old young male being in there in the sauna with the
Yeah.
with the mom. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
she's hot, like she's like, oh Lord, no. Like if you're sitting there and getting a boner and it,
Oh,
yeah, like that's what I said. You don't think like her sons might be used to that, right?
yeah.
Like they see that just as just naked mom, where like their friend comes in at the and then they if he has any kind of attraction to the mom or even just seeing her woman parts,
Oh, she said she went to Germany and they're like really open about the human body.
body. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another one. Am I the asshole for lying to my girlfriend and inadvertently humiliating her on social media? So my 22 male girlfriend, 23 female, is very artistic person who loves trying new things. Her most recent obsession is songwriting. About 2 months ago, a friend of hers got her to attend a beginner's workshop for it, and she's been hooked ever since. She signed up for guitar and voice lessons and writes whenever she has a moment of free time. When she finishes something, I'm the first person she shows it to. I love seeing her so excited about something, and I'm glad she feels comfortable enough to share her art with me. She is, however, terrible at singing,
Oh god.
like truly awful. And to be fully honest, she's not that good at guitar either. But obviously, I never wanted to tell her that. So if she asked me how something sounded, I always said it was beautiful. I didn't think there was anything wrong with this kind of lie since it supported her and made her feel more confident. She disagrees. To give some context as to how she found out I was lying, a few weeks ago, she asked me if it would be a good idea to start a TikTok page for her singing and songwriting. I could tell she was excited about it, but was nervous about putting her work on the internet. I told her she was crazy talented and she'd go for it. She lit up after I said this, and in the following days worked really hard to make videos of her original music. They didn't gain much traction,
Oh no.
but she seemed to be having fun being a content creator. So I felt like I'd made the right decision in encouraging her. But yesterday, she walked into our bedroom sobbing and demanded to know why I told her she could sing. I asked her what she meant, and she threw her phone down for me to look at it. On it was one of her TikToks. It was one of those trends where you duet with another musician by singing color-coded lyrics. Her video had been reposted to a cringe meme page and had
Oh.
it had blown up
Oh.
overnight. The comments were all horrible, truthful in some cases, but really mean about
Oh
it.
no.
She asked me again through tears why I'd never told her she was bad. I told her she wasn't bad. People were just mean. If hundreds of comments say I can't sing, then I can't sing, she snapped at me. So stop lying. Okay, I said, fine. You're definitely no beyond you're definitely no Beyonce. You have a really unique sound, though, and I love that you share it. I thought she'd feel encouraged by this, but it only made things worse. She started crying harder and insisted the only reason she posted things in the first place was because I told her she was talented. And now she's been humiliated in front of thousands. She's deleted her TikTok account along with all her videos and hasn't stopped crying or talked to me since. I feel like she's blowing this out of proportion. I was just trying to do a nice thing.
Uh,
I was trying to do a nice thing by supporting her, and it's not my fault. The internet is what it is. I don't think I should have done anything different, but since the internet put me in this position, am I I'm curious if it will think I'm in the wrong. Am I the asshole?
oh, that's a tough one. Like, I mean, you don't want to discourage or dissuade somebody from like pursuing their passion, right? Um, but I think there's also something about honest criticism. Um, like you can't just blindly say like I would like I like it when my significant other hears, why don't we change this or why don't we do this or why don't we try this? Um, and just open to suggestion about it because as a creator, you want to get better. I mean, that's the way I feel is you want to get better at what you're doing. But at times it can be difficult because some people have their, they have their thoughts. They think a certain way and they're looking for, maybe they're looking for one person to kind of validate that. And that one person is the person that they trust the most. So it can be difficult to be honest about it. But I think if you're smart, you're intelligent, you're open to things that will make you better, then you shouldn't have a problem having that other person tell you something that's counter to what you believe. Like it's okay if somebody tells you, "Hey man, maybe you talk too much or maybe you need to do this." Like like it was hard in the beginning for me to be open to the criticism that people might give me as a creator, and had something like that happen to like what happened to the girl in this story, it might have dissuaded me from continuing to want to do social media. Um,
I almost had
uh,
that happen to me on one of ours.
yeah, from the very beginning almost. But the thing is, you have to. Again, it also takes the skin to say if you're going to put yourself out there into the world, you also have to be prepared for the other things that come with it. There is a mental preparation you have to do to put yourself out in here doing these kind of things. You're going to
Mhm.
hear that you suck, you're bad, you're terrible, you're all these things. Um, the thing is to work past it, to use it as motivation to say, okay, I'll see what I can do to get better. Like craft the things that you're really passionate about. Maybe the sing.
So you think that she's in the wrong for feeling that?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. It's twofold
Mhm.
because number one, he didn't tell her. Like honestly, like you could probably work a little bit better on this. He's just like, hey babe, you're good. Keep doing it. Do your thing. You rock, right? You're trying to be supportive, but there's also a way to be constructive about it that you should say, hey, maybe you should tweak these kinds of things. Or maybe you say, maybe your strength lies in songwriting. Like
Mhm.
just be honest about the what they're trying to do. That's like saying to somebody like this is I mean, honestly, this is the thing about sports. Okay. So in sports, if you're just bad, you're bad. Like even if you tell them to practice, 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 practice. If you can't put the ball in the hole, if you can't make it through the goal, if you can't do any of those things, you're just terrible at it. Maybe you need to, if but you're passionate about it, maybe move into coaching, maybe to do something else, something that involves still that
Mhm.
you're passionate about in songwriting and writing and doing content creation, all this stuff.
Yeah, so I agree. Like
He should have
he
said,
should have said something about it in a nice, loving way.
yes.
Now the thing about when we discover if we're a good singer or not, and some of the the things about ourselves usually get socialized at young ages when people tease and pick and make fun of you for doing things, and then you have to like consciously think, okay, maybe I'm not good at that. But if she never experienced that, maybe her parents too, because the same thing has happened before on American Idol. I mean, look at that one. Was it She Bang song?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he wasn't really good at it. But or some of the other songs and that people go but that one ended up turning around. But like those other people that go on American Idol and they like are singing, but their voices are terrible. It's like somebody told them along the way, you're a great singer. Whether it was their parents or a friend that didn't want to lie, and that's the thing, like you have to be with friends that are honest, straight up honest, when you're in those relationships that will tell you the truth about something. And so I see her side like completely being totally pissed off at him because he was supporting her and not being real with her. He was lying. So like when I was a kid growing up, I used to think I could sing like Mariah Carey. Man, I thought I could carry the best voice. I had my little headset on and I would be singing my heart out. And my mom never told me I couldn't sing. My dad never told me I couldn't sing. Nobody ever did until my brother's friends came over and they started laughing at me and making fun of me when I was singing my heart out. And I was trying to impress them because I was like, yeah, I can sing good like Mariah Carey. And then when they started teasing me and laughing at me, and I like took the headset off and I was like, "What are y'all laughing at?" And they're like, "You
And I
cannot sing like Mariah Carey. I don't know why you trying." And I was like, "Yes, I can." And they're like, "No, you can't." So then I started thinking about it, and I was like, you're right. I probably can't. So I'm totally tone deaf. Like I think I'm the best singer ever and people don't like it. And so whenever my daughter Skylar, when she was little, I used to always sing to her all the time. And man, she was smiling. She loved it. And I was like, see, I'm a good singer. Like my baby loves it when I sing. And then she got to be about 4 and she was like, Mommy, you can't sing. And so I was like, oh, you don't like mommy singing? She's like, no. So I I started just putting the radio on. I was like, we'll just listen to these people then because they sing better than mommy. She's like, okay. So she knows she's not tone deaf. Like my daughter has a beautiful voice. She can sing. Like she'll do karaoke and stuff, and she's got a good voice. She probably got it from her dad and not from me. Um, so she can sing and can pick it up. But now my daughter Naomi, she loves it when I sing. Like I'll be singing all the time and she just, Mommy, sing another song, sing another song. And so I sing to her. I think my poor baby's tone deaf because she likes it. She's already 5. And so I don't know if she's gonna be a good singer or not, but she enjoys my singing. So if he had actually liked her singing, that would have been different.
Yeah.
But he knew, man, my girlfriend cannot sing. Like she's terrible at it. She's bad at the guitar. Like, how horrible is that for you to think those negative things about your girlfriend, but then you're uplifting her? Like saying, go for it, create a TikTok, put yourself out there. Like he allowed her to fail. So, yeah, I think he's the asshole. I'm totally siding with her on that
Yeah.
one.
And that's why I said, as me being somebody who's gone into content creation, um, again, I think part of it too, though, is like she probably didn't know to do a lot of research into this, like, into like when you research something, when you really take a deep dive into wanting to learn about doing something, you learn whether or not you're going to be good. Like the reason I haven't like,
She was taking classes. She was like,
I, I,
yeah,
I know
she was trying to
she
get
was
better.
learning the craft, but then she hasn't
Mm,
applied the craft. Like it's like me saying I know how to write, but
mhm.
I'm not applying it by putting my books out into the world and sharing my words. So I mean,
But she did with her boyfriend, and he approved, and he complimented, and he made her feel good about it. It's just like, I would want you to tell me, like, if I'm doing something and it's terrible, I want you to tell me. Like, that's not, maybe you need to work on this because you're not there yet. Like, don't put that out there.
yeah,
Just like, and I know you were with some of your writing, you were nervous about putting it out there. And so you were even nervous with sharing it to people because you didn't want to get that feedback, if it was not as well as you thought it was. But when you slowly start letting people read and you hear honesty, like that's a good writing. Like you are a like I'm telling you the truth, honey. Like you write very well. And so when you get those compliments, it makes you feel more confident to put it out there. And if I had been lying and been like, yeah, your writing is so good. And you're like, I'm publishing this book and you put it out there and
it's
everybody's like,
garbage.
that fucking sucks.
But
That would be horrible.
but this is where going into the research. So this is what I mean. This is where
Mhm.
going into the research of understanding. I went and looked at multiple authors, right? Multiple authors who put that out there, and they all tell you the same thing. Your first book is gonna suck.
Mhm.
Be okay with that. Like if you go into it with that mentality as a creator, like, okay, I can deal with the criticism and everything else. I know the first book I published now, I'm saying I'm under the mindset that it's going to suck. But guess what? If it's good, then I get better at it. And I'm like, okay, I know then I know where to judge myself. So I think it was twofold. Number one for her, it should have been if I'm gonna invest in doing a TikTok, go follow TikTok creators, go do the things, see what they do, see how they do, and not just to comparatively do it, but develop your own style and say, this is how I'm going to do it. And just being reliant on someone's decision. Like, baby, I love your decision. Like, I love your input,
Mhm.
but I also have my own input into what I'm creating.
Mhm.
Like, I have my own feelings about it. So even if you were to encourage me to go do those things, I still tell myself, well, this is how I need to do it if I want it to be satisfactory to me. To
Mhm.
ultimately, that's what all content creators will tell you. Create content that you want
Right.
to do. Right? It sounds to me like she was going out there trying to create for thinking I can be the next, whoever, superstar. Um, and not crafting it for what she wanted to do. Like, if you're okay with your work, you're okay with your work. I'm okay with my work.
Mhm.
Like, I know I go back and watch my first video and I'm still okay with it. And it was crappy. I mean,
I loved it. I loved your
it was,
first one.
but it was me sitting there with the lapel mic on, with the white bed sheet and terrible lighting, and me just doing it. But I knew that's how I was going to get better. That's how I knew I was going to do it. I went and did research before I got into doing whatever it was. She's taking classes, she's doing courses. You can't realize you're not at a finalized uh
Yeah, but she could be young too and not realizing this is could be her first footing with it, not realizing that you have to put in a lot of that research and you have to like understand that you might fail at it the first time.
but if you're passionate enough to go do these things, you're passionate enough to do the rest of the research that goes around. That's the way that I see it. If like you want to get better at doing anything, you go learn, right?
Mhm.
You took the proactive step of taking classes and songwriting classes,
And
and
that's what
and you
yeah.
had other feedback. You should have been able, or like like even not just staying the feedback from like you
Well,
again.
that's where I think that other people were giving her positive feedback like he was.
Yeah.
But she was ultimately listening to him, and
Mm-hmm.
that was her, and he was the one pushing her to, yeah, go get the TikTok. But I think that, and like I said, along your life, you're going to have people that socialize you. You can't rely on your parents to tell you because parents love you and they're going to support you and they're going to be like, baby, you're good, and that can't be your only source of like push because you gotta see how other people in the world respond to it too.
Well, I think that's why. I mean, maybe she was the only child. Maybe
Mhm.
that's what I'm
She
assuming
she
from
let the whole world decide.
because your siblings will tell you pretty much. Like I've had like my siblings were all like, "You suck." So I got into the mentality of saying, "Okay,
See, I
I
got it
I, I
too.
got
I
I
had
got the mental.
siblings.
I had
Yeah.
siblings, and they give you that equilibrium that say, okay, maybe I'm in somewhere in between. Maybe I'm not as
And then
terrible
that's probably what pushed you to do more research because if people are telling you suck at something, you wanna get
they're
better.
at it,
Yeah.
but I don't think you should have also like in this culture where we do these things, like we look to find the cringe moments and like exploit them.
That's
Like
terrible.
I don't think it should. Uh, well, it's hard to when somebody crushes your confidence, but I don't think it should stop her from continuing to do her passion.
But it will. It
It
sounds like
will.
it
It will.
will.
Oh, it will. It will. I'm just saying it shouldn't. Like it's not like I'm about to do my book, and if it does terrible, oh well. I've already become comfortable with it that the next
Mhm.
one will make me a little bit better, and then the next one, and the next one.
Mhm.
Like I should have listened 5 years ago when my friend Kate started doing books, and she wasn't always confident about her first one. Now she's like 20 books in, and she's way better. And the lesson was like the same thing in live streaming. People are like, Gabe, you're so good at it. You're awesome at it. And I remember, and I said, you know what? I always wasn't. I sucked at it for a long time to get better. So I know that it'll be the same thing in writing, and I know it's the same thing in life. It's like we're talking about love in our relationship. I know I sucked at it, but it gets better by
Not in
practice.
ours.
Huh?
You
No,
never sucked at our relationship.
of course, but how
But
long?
it maybe in
And
others.
others exactly, but you had to suck at something to get to understand. You get better. Not
How to
everybody
get
can be a
better.
yeah.
But see, not everybody does like you're like, "Oh, they should do the research." Not everybody does. You read books on communication, you read books about all of this, but not everybody does. I've also read some stuff and looked up information but not everyone does. They just keep on in the same cycle, repeating and not learning. Even if you don't like go and read books about it or whatever, at least take the time to self reflect and learn from your mistakes so that you don't keep repeating them because people will keep repeating the same mistakes instead of learning from them. And that's good that you did. But it's not
It's
everybody
not
will.
everybody does. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's again, I think it's twofold. It's for her,
Mhm.
it's twofold on again. I'm not gonna put the sole blame on him for saying that. I love the fact that he encouraged her, which you should. Maybe he didn't give her the insights that probably would have helped her to maybe not do some of the things. But I mean, to me also again, it goes back on both of you understanding what that is. Like, yeah, he's an asshole for not telling her, but yeah, she's also an asshole for also like blaming him for crushing her dreams when it was actually the internet and everybody else. Like, people are just cruel. People are going to be cruel.
I don't know. I'd be totally pissed off at him.
Well,
Like
he should
I
be.
I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to go back and like I would he would just be a reminder of what
What
happened.
happened?
Yeah, I just I'd probably
It just
one day
sounds like
forgive him,
it
but
sounds like it just sucks all around because he
it
was just
does.
trying to be a good person,
He was.
obviously.
He was loving on her and being
Or
a good and but he just
I
didn't
don't
know.
know how, but that's gonna suck for him because then now in the next relationship, he's gonna know like I don't want to say anything. The way I feel, I don't want to say anything because then something like this can happen. Like,
Maybe he'll learn like I need to be more honest about it. Like, in a constructive way, not be like, "Oh, you suck,"
I
but like,
that's the silver lining. That's the good way to think about it.
mhm.
But I'll just tell you how guys' mindsets works. Like, I don't know what I did wrong. He's asking, I don't even know what I did wrong. Like
Well,
he's
he had
like
like 100 comments, but
so
I couldn't click on
I
him
don't
to see if anyone
know. But
was helpful.
all but he's gonna go back and say, I'd rather not just say anything. It's the whole thing. Look, it's the whole conundrum of saying to your girlfriend when she asks you, "Do I look fat in this?"
Mm,
Right? So what do you say? Do you honestly, "Hey, baby, yeah, you do look fat. Like this shit's hanging out. Like maybe you need to do change your clothes." That's honest feedback, though, right? Or do you say, "No, baby, you look okay. You look good." Like, and then someone goes out and the group of girls are cackling. It's like, "Oh my god, what is she wearing? I can't believe she wore that over here." Like,
mm,
who's at fault for that? Is it him? Or is it society around him choosing to make fun of her for that? Like, I mean,
mhm,
do you want I don't know. Do you hurt are you the one that like I know the understanding saying I don't want to hurt her feelings, but then you allow the other people to hurt her feelings. She gets her feelings hurt. Like it's a hard slippery slope.
it is. It really is. Because
And you're just trying to be good. Like you don't want to tell her, straight up like you're fat and you're overweight. I mean, because that can be detrimental to her as well.
mhm,
So do you get the asshole to be doing it, or do you go back and say, let them be the asshole and say, "Baby, look, you do look good to me." Like he's trying to, like he did go back and say, "Well, you were good to me." I mean, in my eyes, and then finally, like maybe he did break down afterwards, but I think his intention was still to come from a good place,
mhm.
and it's gonna suck going into the
Yeah,
future
I don't
because
think he came from a bad place at all. I'm not saying
yeah,
that,
no, but it's gonna hurt
but
him going back into the next one
he didn't realize
because
what he was
he's
doing.
gonna want to just not have to answer that question. He's gonna be like, "What do you think, baby?" And he's like, "Well, what do you think?" It's
Well,
like,
he's just gonna have to learn to
learn
be honest.
you
Like, you have to be that's one of the number one things in a
relationship
relationship
has
is
to
you
be
have to be
honest.
honest. Maybe even with the fat conversation. Like, well, you are a little larger, like, but I love you, You do it in a nice way
Okay,
with me.
but that's the
You
thing
never
is
call me
though,
fat,
no,
but,
I say, but that's the thing I'm looking for though. Like I love them hips. Like so for me, it's like that's not fat. That's just for me. Like I love that. Like there's a
Mhm,
reason I love that. You
mhm,
know, I'm like that's why I asked if you lose weight, do they go away? Do you lose your curves? And you're like, no, they don't. I'm like okay, like I like that. For me, that was part of it. So it's not me seeing you as being overweight. It's like that's what I like.
mhm.
What have I told you? I don't want you to be the thin rail. It's just not my bag. Like,
Yeah, but some people are too afraid, or maybe they do want that, and so it's hard for them to communicate across to their significant other when they approach that question. They don't know what to say. But like you always say the right thing, and it makes me feel happy and happy with who I am. So happy that we gained 30 pounds when we were together. But we've already lost pretty much all of it. So I've lost 25 of it. He's lost 27. So we're almost back to where we started. And then we're just going to keep going down. So we do want to lose the weight. Yeah.
yeah. So that was a hard one, but hey, I mean, that's the thing about life. We don't
Mhm.
we seek external validation, and then that's the best thing for me is like learning what that is for yourself. Like maybe this will teach her to like learn to hone her own skills to say whether or not I'm confident enough to do
Or
this thing.
ask more
Opinion.
opinions of people than just relying on your relationship.
Yeah. And
Um,
if you feel uncomfortable, just tell 'em, I don't want your opinion. I said, can you give me like insightful feedback?
yeah,
Be logical about it. Don't call it those sort of things because it can sound negative. And when you feel like it's when someone says give me your opinion, it sounds like you're weighting something upon them. You're giving them a burden. When you
mm,
say something like, can you give me like just
honest
honest
feedback.
feedback about something, and then you're kind of diffusing the situation like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you want me this is them being honest.
Mhm.
So I don't
But see, I was glad when people told me I couldn't sing when I was younger because I probably would have tried to take up a career, and if TikTok had been around, I would have done the same thing. So, I'm glad that didn't
but
happen to
but there
me,
but there are things you
but
learn. Like,
you learn.
I'm a terrible dancer, but I love dancing, baby. Like, you get me out there, I don't give a fuck. I'm dancing out there, shaking it, doing the booty thing, whatever you want, whatever I need to
We're
do.
taking dance
We're
lessons
taking
because
dance
we're
lessons.
gonna get
Yeah,
better.
yeah. But I love dancing. Like, I do have 2 left feet. It's hard, but I just love doing it so much. Do I plan to go out and be a jazz dancer or ballet? Absolutely not. I know that that's just not my forte, but it doesn't deter me from wanting to dance. And I hope
I know.
that's what I hope this does
I
for the
sing with my students in my class all the time. Like a song will come on that I
I just
like, and I sing loud and proud, and I don't care that
I
my singing voice sucks.
I just don't hope it deters her from singing. It shouldn't,
Yeah,
but keep going at it, girl. Okay,
but I did for a long time.
I think we're been doing it now for 2 hours, longer than expected, but it was
Yeah,
fun, and
we have like 3 people
people
watching,
watching,
so
not
that's
commenting, but that's okay. You can just watch.
okay.
But I guess until Tuesday, we will be back with our regular.
Did you have our next topic lined up so we could announce it?
Absolutely not.
It's been a busy weekend. We had a gender reveal
So
for my daughter. I had
we had so much going
uh,
on.
homework I've been working on. I still have 2 more assignments due tomorrow. So yeah, it's been a crazy busy
But
weekend.
I will
But
post it probably tomorrow. I'll talk about it, get it aligned, and then I'll have Tuesday and Thursday lined up for next week. So, all right. You got anything else you want to add, baby?
come here.
I mean, oh,
I love you.
I love you. This is Love Talk. Y'all get extra. So, all right. All right. We'll see you then Tuesday evening, everybody. Until then, you guys have a wonderful rest of
Good night, Rachel, and everybody else that's out there.
everybody that maybe hung around long enough. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.